deal with the report as we normally would. So Peter, we'll get your commentary, we'll take any questions, and obviously gain an understanding through the answers to those questions. That's fine. Now, because items 4 and 5 necessarily include debate around the people who will end up acting in these roles, it's appropriate that we have that discussion in a public excluded session. So before we can move to any discussion around resolutions 4 and 5, we will need to move into public excluded for a short time in order that the privacy of those people and any discussion around them can be maintained. My intention would be that we would make the decisions around the names that will then populate resolutions 4 and 5 in that public excluded session. Those names will then obviously become known immediately when we come back into the open agenda, at which point we'll make a decision on paragraphs 1, 2 and 3, resolutions 1, 2 and 3. So just for the sake of transparency, I wanted to outline that before we start. So now and I would imagine for the purpose of media in the room, that the public excluded discussion will be relatively short. Now let's move to the normal process, which would be, Peter, for you to present the report to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, speaking to recommendations 1 to 3, the commitment remains to the commitment remains to provide all draft components of the LTP for 1 June. That will give councillors enough time between June and the end of the year to have a measured discussion around those components and understand and interrogate them as they need to. There's an update attached to the report. As we discussed earlier with capital works and so forth, between the last update, which I think was the 18th of December to this committee, and now, there's obviously a gap around progress caused by the Christmas New Year break. However, it has hit the ground running. The project's back in flow. So quickly hitting the points there. Obviously, I think you already know, the CE will be chairing the LTP group to progress the project. I'm on that team as well as a number of other operational people. We're progressing the co-development or co-production process whereby councillors are involved in the development of the LTP before the components are complete. That's going to take a measure of trust and teamwork on both sides. For staff, it will mean preparedness to show work in progress. For councillors, it will mean understanding that they're not seeing a complete product, that maybe the cosmetics are not there yet, and that perhaps even because it's not due yet, it may not even be complete. But that's part of the co-production collaborative approach. The IS and capital development work streams are providing a bit more detail. In particular, what we're keen to know is when ELT and councillors can see how the capital prioritisation model will work. I'm quite keen to make sure that the principles and the criteria are agreed before we do a whole raft of work on that, so that basically you're happy and ELT's happy with the recipe of how that works. It would be a pity to invest a huge amount of effort in that and then discover that the recipe wasn't what people were looking for. It is, I should remind you, I think around about a $5 to $6 billion capital program over the life of the LTP. So how we cut and dice the priorities on that is important. With that will be, all of this is in line with the Mayor's letter of expectation, so that with that will be an analysis of deliverability as well. I'm mindful of the conversation that we had with Raymond Horan, who's the advisor to the Society of Local Government Managers, that councils across New Zealand have basically doubled their capital works programs since 2012, but the supply of capacity hasn't changed that much. So in other words, we're all competing for the same suppliers to deliver big projects. And his stress was that councils need to look at deliverability as part of their program. We are well advanced on booking activity plan presentations to you between June and December. That doesn't mean that you can't ask to talk to activities before then, but it means that you'll start to see appointments appearing in your diary from June onwards and the names of the activities that you'll be looking at that time. Obviously, there is a time commitment in an LTP. So it's not something that you can sort of sneak into the existing briefings. There will be additional briefings, especially around things like the infrastructure strategy, the financial strategy, the capital program, as well as the activity plans. Obviously, the external advisory group, and that's the later topics. A lot of work has progressed since we last spoke on zero-based budgeting. The milestones on those are well advanced and are looking to be built into the project plan. The team meets on Tuesday, the 4th, and we expect that those milestones will be sheeting home at that point. The program on how to review the budget is well underway. The engagement process, the pre-engagement process is advancing well with the comms team. We've got some good tools, things that will make visualising the capital program, because you've asked to keep track of that in the course of the LTP, not at the end. So visualisation tools for the capital program, visualisation tools for participatory budgeting are all well advanced. We're hoping to maybe give you a demonstration in the next couple of weeks of how those tools look and work. So that's really the high-level view. I'm happy to field questions on those initiatives. Bear in mind that it's been about 4 weeks and probably 2 of those were lost to the break. But that's where we're at the moment.
That's great. Thank you very much indeed, Peter. I mean, it's good to see that we're, quite ahead of this. It certainly feels quite different than the position we've been at this stage in previous LTPs. Having that letter of expectation issued, of course, was a significant step because it gives you the guidance and direction that you're needing as you plan and implement these next pieces of work. And obviously getting the first steps of the EAG appointments done today will be a significant step in the right direction as well. It's good to hear you referring to issues around affordability and deliverability as we look at the capital programme. And obviously we talked earlier in the meeting about the need for alignment of work across the various different parts of the programme, and that's alluded to in your conclusion in the report that we've got in front of us as well. Avoiding that silo mentality and making sure we take a joined up approach across the various different areas. So thank you for the significant progress which has been made. Of course, realising that we've just been through a holiday period and realising that there's the more detailed update which will come to the next meeting on the 5th of March. And our focus really is going to be will continue to be on those matters of alignment and making sure that we remain ahead of this. But it certainly feels as though we're in a good space, and we just need to make sure that with good oversight and calling out any issues early, that we continue to play in that space. That's good. Thank you. Are there any questions? Okay, so in the absence of any questions, we'll come back to the resolutions 1, 2 and 3 shortly. Now, what I would propose, we've got a resolution in front of us, if I can get that put up on the screen so that we can move into public excluded just for the discussion about the individuals who may end up as chair and deputy chair of the external advisory group. For the sake of simplicity, what I'd propose is that we go into public excluded now, have that discussion, then break for morning tea, and then when we come back from morning tea, the very first thing we will do in public is to approve the whole set of resolutions, having already dealt with resolutions 4 and 5 in that public excluded session. So I will now move that we exclude the public for the reasons set out in front of us. Do I have a seconder for that? Sam? I'll put that resolution. All those in favour say aye. Against? That's carried. So if we could clear the chamber.